Welcome to this tutorial on file management for Adobe Premiere Pro. We are going to connect our card into our computer. In the back of the iMacs you have a card slot. If anything pops up, you can cancel or quit it. Command Q quits, or I can click cancel there. We want to do our copying at the Finder level, and then we'll be opening up Premiere. So first, let's go on to the external drive that's connected to the machine. I have a LaCie connected to this machine, and I'm going to make a new folder, date it, last name, and then whatever the project is. For this, it's just I'm transferring HMC 70 files. So here is my folder, and I'm actually going to go to this list view so that I know I'm inside of the folder. I'm going to double click into no name. And now here are the subfolders that get created when you shoot the HMC 70. Each camera nowadays usually shoots more than just video. There's usually a lot of other data that's collected, like thumbnails and information about what kind of file it is, and the number for the file, and that sort of information. So we need to make sure that all of the folders are copied over. So I'm going to click and drag, or Command A will select all, and then I can click and drag them over. So it's copying it from the connected SD card to the LaCie drive. This step is crucial. You have to make sure your files are on the LaCie drive before you get started. And I'm actually going to eject the card so that I know for a fact that I'm not working off the card. A lot of times what happens is a student will plug in a card and then begin editing the media directly off of the card, and then when they eject their card and then come back the next day, all of their files are disconnected because the files are actually on the card and not on the system. So especially if you go and format your card and shoot something else, and you lose all that footage and all of your editing work as well. So we want to make sure that it's on the external drive. So here we're on the LaCie drive, and we make a subfolder within the LaCie drive and date it, name it, and title it something specific about the project. So now I'm going to open up Premiere. This tutorial shows the exact steps that you would be doing even if you were shooting a different file or a different camera. So I can actually, I'll show you in a second after I do this. So I'm going to make a new project. We're going to set our location, so I'm going to browse, and I'm going to go onto the LaCie drive, and I can actually put it right in this folder. So I'm going to choose, and I'm going to call the project, the date, and we're using dashes and not slashes, because if you look here, the slashes, they modify subfolders, so it would be like kind of a folder within a folder. We want to avoid using slashes. It confuses the computer in certain situations. So use dashes and last name, and then whatever this is. So I'm just talking about file management, so I'll just put an FM, and I'm going to say OK. But before I do that, if you go into scratch disks, when you set this location, it automatically sets up your scratch disk location. So where the video, audio, previews, and project autosaves go. So it's all going onto that same location. This is kind of nice that Adobe shows you this right up front, so you know where all of your files are going to be. I'm going to say OK and finish this up. So here's a project. The project is titled at the top here. There's currently no sequence, and I'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to actually go into our media browser. So if you're in the project bin, go to the media browser, and you're going to navigate to your hard disk where you dropped your files off. So I'm going to go into the LaCie backup, and then I'm going to look for my 1014 folder. I'm going to double click into there, and then I can go into, for the HMC 70, you're looking in the private folder, and then here's all the clips. So if I grab one of the clips and I drag it to the timeline, you can see that the timeline, the sequence, is now named the name of the clip that I just drug in. You can single click in there, or maybe not. Maybe you have to rename this sequence. It's probably in your browser here. So we have a sequence, and we have a video with linked audio, and I can go in and change the name of the sequence, and I'm just going to call this HMC70 edit. And you may even want to put the date 10, 14, 14, HMC70 edit. So now we've renamed the sequence. So we have a sequence, and then we have an audio and a video file. If I hover over this track area and I scroll up or down on the mouse, I can kind of see more about it and see the audio waveform. And if you zoom in, plus, if you haven't changed your key set, it's just plus, you can kind of see more about it, and then you can get started with your editing. So if we were to look at this shot, hit the space bar. This is a little rack focus shot in the studio without sound. And there's a little bit of rumble in that track, so you might end up deleting the audio. We'll talk more about editing later. So that's going to do it for this tutorial. And now you should be able to bring in your footage from the HMC70. One last thing. Let me grab another file. I'm going to plug in an SD card. I'm going to hide Premiere. Here's my window that's asking me if I wanted to transfer. I'm going to quit that and hide Premiere. Hide Premiere. And here, this was shot with the Canon camera, so the T4i. And with the Canon camera, you're going to want to transfer, again, everything that's in this card. So I'm going to go to the HMC70 folder, and I'm going to make a subfolder within it. And I'm going to call this 10, 14, 14, T4i. Not 44i, let's try that again. T4i, there we go. And then I'm going to copy this whole folder. See how Canon has some subfolders, and eventually we're going to get into this Canon folder to grab some of the MOV files. You could actually just copy the MOV files, but I want you to get into the habit of copying the whole folder. So we'll throw them over. And then once it's done copying, we can go into Premiere after ejecting our card to make sure that our files are now onto the connected external drive and no longer being referenced from the card. We'll delete the card from the system, pull the card, and now if I go over to Premiere and I go into my media browser, I can look into the T4i footage in DCIM, Canon, and there's the MOV file. So if I wanted to drag those to the timeline, I could do that as well. And then this is a little wiggly shot of the office. So that's going to do it now for this tutorial. Both the HMC70 and the T4i cameras that we use in class, getting your media from the card to the drive and then imported into Premiere.